Working from home means every day is bring your kid to work day. And if you don't have the right tools and mindset to balance work and family responsibilities, you may end up throwing in the towel. Black Moth Radio gives you the upper hand in starting and managing your ideal lifestyle while creating your own business, doing what you do best, and doing it from home. So, grab the nearest ink pen and prepare to take notes, because this show is packed with discoveries, tips, and experiences to help you through your journey. Let's begin with our host, Robin Bull. Welcome to Black Moth Radio. It is Monday, July 31st, 2017, where it's always Bring Your Child to Work Day, and as of today, it's also apparently Bring Your Pet to the Office Day, and we are recording this podcast with 33% more dog. Would you like to tell everybody about the rat dog that Jacob brought home?
No, aside from the fact that it needs to go away.
Well, it's not going to go away anytime soon.
I know, I can be, wishful thinking, optimism, important in business.
It is. Okay, so since we weren't able to do the podcast yesterday because we were running updates on the computer, which, by the way, took 6.5 hours to do, got a new computer, and it's decided that it needed to run updates on and off for most of last week, which made it incredibly difficult to get anything done. So we turned off the automatic updating and decided I would just update it once a week. And decided yesterday would be a great day for that. And it took 6 or 7 hours for it to run and apply all of the updates.
Or there was 189 of them.
Yeah, and it only installed 188, by the way.
Well, that's fine.
So I figured since we didn't get to do the Super Sunday show, we would call this Monday Madness.
Yay!
And I thought that since it's Monday, beginning of the week for most people keep a standard schedule. I know a lot of people don't. There are lots of professions that don't, really. But everyone still kind of thinks of Monday as the start to the work week or the week in general. Everybody generally has some sort of sense of dread, particularly if they don't work for themselves. Sometimes if they do work for themselves. So I thought that what we would do today, Monday would be a great day to talk about business basics, because I feel like Mondays is one of the best days that people are, dreaming about going out and starting their own business because they think that it will,
I don't have to go to work on Monday if I have my own business.
Oh, by the way, just to give you an update and everybody listening.
There we go, 33% more dog.
That's Panda. She's playing with her new puppy. The last computer that we had said we only had 30 minutes of disk space no matter what we did. This one says we have 353 hours and 6 minutes. So we've got plenty of time for the show this time. And so I thought that, like I said, what we would do, Danny is trying to get the dogs to go outside to play instead of in the office. All three of them are a little bit of, they like to be around Mama. I guess for Jacob's dog, I'm Grandma. But, they like to be around Mom. So, with that being said, now that he's back in the room, we'll go ahead and get started. And I thought that one thing that we would talk about, or at least start with, is something you and I talked about last week. And that is how a lot of people get told, you need to do something that you love. You'll never work a day in your life. And the other way people say that is find your passion, take that on as your daily job, and you're just absolutely going to love it. And so there are two issues with the whole find your passion, follow your passion statement. The first one is passion. Whatever you're passionate about isn't necessarily going to pay the bills. I love building doll houses, but let's face it, if I were going to do it for a job, I know there are some people who could get that done and do it, but that's
there's not a lot of money in it.
Not where we live, especially. I know there are people who collect things, but at the small scale that I do it, there would not be a lot of money in it. So that's one thing, is consider your passion, because your passion isn't necessarily going to make, yeah,
I
make.
mean, if your passion is scat art, probably not going to make a lot of money in that.
I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
I pray to God people are cleaner than that.
Well, you know, it's that whole your kink is not my kink.
Yeah, no, that doesn't even apply here. You're buying art. You're not.
But, you know, with that said,
It's not high quality painting material is what I'm getting at here.
when I was, well, you know, there was that one Brickleberry episode. But, you know, when I was teaching, and I told people that writing is what I really wanted to do, what did a lot of people tell me?
Never make money at it.
Yeah, and it depends on the type of writing that you're doing. That, you know, whether or not you're going to be able to make money at it, because unless you're Harry Potter, you know, J.K. Rowling, you wrote Harry Potter, which today is also Harry Potter's birthday, apparently. Saw that on Facebook. I don't know. I didn't.
He's a fictional character. How does he have a
Revoke?
birthday?
I don't know, but revoke my nerd card now. I've never read the books, never seen the movies, although I bought the books for
They were children's books. Why
my
would
middle
you read
son.
them?
Because they're like 800 pages each, and I know a lot of people that read them. A lot of people you go to the gym with even have read them and love them. But I'm not real big into
They
the
read
fantasy.
them after they watched the movies, and then they were like, "Ooh, I have to read this book." No, you don't. I
So,
read one of them. That was enough. It's kind of like you also find a bunch of soccer moms who are all about 50 Shades of Grey for some godforsaken reason. I think I read like 2 chapters.
I got
of
maybe
it.
one chapter in and couldn't do it.
I always give a book 2 chapters before I
Toss it out the window.
burn it, and that one I barely got 2 chapters before. It was so horribly written.
It
But,
was.
you know, mommies like mommy porn.
It sells, and that's the
Yeah,
thing. Like, if you're gonna write fiction, you have to and make money at it. You have to think about what people really want to read. Like, you have to stay on top of the trends. You have to find a way to stay ahead of it. And if you don't like writing things like erotica, as some people would refer to 50 Shades of Grey, you know, you may have a hard time because
I've seen better grammar out of a Hustler forum than I've seen in 50 Shades of Grey.
I don't really know. I don't really know what her editor was thinking in that. I don't. But you know, you can't expect just to write and self-publish a novel and think you're going to somehow sell 1 million copies and then people are going to sign you and all this other stuff. Like, we could talk about the publishing stuff later.
Yeah.
But my point is, you have to figure out what type of writing is selling and what's not. So, for instance, you know, it took me a while because I wanted to do the ghostwriting, I wanted to do the fiction writing thing, and people were offering me like $15 for an entire novel, and no, that's not going to work. And so I ventured over into nonfiction writing, you know, various forms of nonfiction writing, and that ended up paying the bills. And so I started working for that one company first, and it ended up being pretty good. So when we're talking about passion, you have to think about whether or not that's Panda digging to China on my concrete floor. She's digging me an escape route. That's what I've decided. She's digging me an escape tunnel.
Shawshank Redemption issue.
You have to think about your passion, whether or not you can actually make any money doing it, or even looking at other things that are associated with what you want to do. And so that was the first thing that I wanted to say about passion. What would you like to add about that? And then we'll talk about the things that you need aside from passion.
I believe anybody, if you've got a real passion for something, you can probably make money at it. Even if your major passion is football, I have fantasy football leagues that people are making a living on, you know, $30,000-$40,000 a year on. If you've got the capital to put into it to, you know, actually start the business. So really what you're passionate about can make you money. You may just need to look at it through a different lens in order to actually make money. Maybe you need to start. I'm going to keep with sports here. Maybe you need to start an online blog that sells advertising space. You know, um, the case in point would be Hugh Hefner made Playboy off of what? Like a $2,000 loan from his mom. I mean,
I bet she was proud.
she probably, I don't know if he exactly explained what he was going to do with it
Would
to his
you? Would you
mother.
have told your mom?
No, good God, no. My mother would have looked at me and laughed and said, not going to happen. But, you know, that the real case, you want to, you kind of have this passion to make something, to do something. You, you might be, just look at all aspects of it is what I'm saying. You may be able to find a way to get your passion working to your actual job.
And here's something else about, relying only on your passion to make money is that at least once during that period, you're going to get sick of it. And it's going to be, I had probably 2.5 or 3 years where I wouldn't really even consider touching any of my own fiction work because I was just so sick to death of writing. Because that's what you do day in and day out, and eventually it loses its luster with you.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea how that's going to end up sounding once we play it back. There are 4 things that you have to have aside from passion if you want to start a successful business. And that's what we're talking about today is business basics, getting your foundation set up to where you can have a successful business. And those 4 items are education of some sort, drive, you have to know about your industry, and of course, customer service. So we're going to talk about each of those on their own. And so when it comes to education, I'm not necessarily talking about going out and getting a 4-year degree or a master's degree or a PhD. Or you can if you want to. It's totally up to you. I'm of the opinion college is not necessarily for everyone. You don't necessarily need it to be successful. I also believe, though, if you go and get your education, you've got one thing that nobody can take away from you. I have a bachelor's degree in paralegal studies. That's the degree I primarily rely on. I have another degree, but that's the degree that I primarily rely on. So, and the thing is, it's in paralegal studies. It's not in writing. It's not in English. It's not in journalism. It's not in any of these things. My master's degree is not in creative writing or editing or any of that. And all that really goes to show you is you don't really need that to be able to be successful. So, with the fact that we have the internet, you can get information about pretty much anything you want when you want it. And like we talked about in our minimum wage and education talk a couple of weeks ago, you alone are responsible for your education. Nobody else is responsible for that. And so it's totally up to you. If you want to be successful in your industry, if you want to have a successful business, it is only up to you to go out and take advantage of the resources that are available to you. The public library for books, the internet, webinars, whatever. Like, it is totally up to you.
Internet does not include Wikipedia.
Well, it can if you actually scroll down to the real sources and go to those sources and read the information from there.
Nobody's going to do that. Wikipedia
I know.
does not count.
I used to give people zeros when I taught college, and they would use Wikipedia. I gave them zeros.
Too much opinion on Wikipedia and not enough fact on it. So don't. If you're one of those people that are looking, don't look on Wikipedia for your main resource. Wikipedia is great if you're just wanting to get a general idea.
Or if you want to fall down the rabbit hole, like you don't have anything else to do that day.
Yeah, if you have nothing else to do that day, and you're like, I want to look for a new career, and you start looking crap up on Wikipedia, I guess, but not really something I would suggest to anybody. But as far as education goes, yeah, you can. If you're not wanting to spend a whole lot of money on something,
Hey, MIT offers free classes online.
yeah, go. Yeah, look for free classes. A lot of major universities are offering free classes online. So start there. I mean, look and see if they've got something. Even if you have no idea about it, say you have a fleeting thought about painting, watercolor paint, and you find free class online offered through
Anybody, really.
yeah anybody, any major university, or even a non. Well, I would try and keep it to a major university. Then try it. I mean, what's the word? It's free. What are you losing? Just a few hours out of your day.
And you know what else is really good for education, especially when it comes to business practices, is YouTube. Because if there's a business person that you're really interested in, you can find them on YouTube. Or, if you're more of a reader, I can sit through maybe 5-10 minutes of a video because it's just not me. I don't like to be still that long. But if you find yourself pressed for time and you would rather read this stuff, you can actually find on Amazon, you can find summaries written of current best-selling books. Of course, you have to pay for them unless you have Kindle Unlimited, but they're out there. So you can get the information in whatever medium you want. It's just that you have to go out and get it, and you have to listen to it, read it, watch it, whatever. And then more importantly, you have to apply it, because you can go and get an education, but if you don't apply what you've learned, it doesn't mean anything.
Right. Yeah, pretty much drive and education have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
In order to start any of this.
Yeah, drive is really important, and it's just as important at the very beginning of your business. Well, Panda found something outside. But it's just as important at the beginning of your business as it is at any point in your business. Once it's up and going, a lot of the times, and it's a misnomer that people have, they think that they can just sit back and relax and the business is just going to run itself. Unfortunately, that's not really how any business works. Even, CEOs of major corporations, they're still showing up to work. They're still working. They're still going over financial reports. They're still doing whatever they need to do in order to keep their business profitable. And so drive is just as important in the beginning. And trust me, you're going to spend like the first 2 years of your life doing nothing but managing this business. It's like a baby. And if you ignore it, it's going to die.
Wow. That's, yeah. Okay.
Well, it's true. If you don't manage your business and if you don't have the drive to keep going, nobody's going to beg you to run your own business. So if you can't be internally motivated to keep it going, even when it's hard, even when you don't have clients or enough clients, if you can't be driven to take care of yourself and your business, you're going to fail.
Right.
Like, I don't have anybody over my, looking over my shoulder every day telling me what I need to do, who has due dates today, who has due dates at the end of the week, who's paid, who hasn't paid. Thankfully, most of my clients pay on time. It's not an issue. But I don't have people looking over my shoulder reminding me about what needs to be done. That's me. And if I don't do it, the business falls apart.
Right.
So you have to be driven. And if you can't motivate yourself to carry on through hard times, then business probably isn't your strong suit. So the third point is learn your industry. Whatever industry you're getting into, it doesn't matter if it's writing, it doesn't matter what it is, or if you're just serving a particular industry. I have a client, and what she does is she provides services to various other industries, the legal industry, the medical industry, but she has to know a lot about every single industry that she offers her services to. Just like I have to know not just about the writing, nonfiction writing, content writing, what are the trends, what's going on, what's new in SEO. It's more than that. I also have to know what the trends are in each industry for my clients, because I have clients in various industries. And so you have to know about what you're doing in business, and you also have to know what's going on in your clients' industries as well. And one of the best ways that you can do that is to visit what people generally refer to as competitor websites. Go look at their blog. Go see the terms that they're using. Go look at what they're talking about. Read their fact page. Learn everything you possibly can about your industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really something you can ignore. That's like if you work construction and you're charging, let's say, to drywall a 10 by 10 room, you charge, I'm just going to $100 to drywall a 10 by 10 room, but everybody else is charging 75. You know, you're losing out on profit. You're basically losing out on work at that point because everybody else is doing it for $25 cheaper. Why are they going to bother with you if they can go get it somewhere else?
Well, the only reason would be actually the fourth point, and that would be customer service, because I would gladly pay a little bit more for somebody who knows what they're doing and knows how to treat their clients. And that's, customer service has become so lacking these days, and then you've got people who, they want everything and they want it right now because it's just what they've become accustomed to because of the internet.
Right.
And so if you really want to stand out in your business, in your industry, you have to offer great customer service.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying, though, because without customers, you have no business.
Oh, you wouldn't believe how many new business people talk to me, and they're like, I can't get clients to stay, and so I'll look into what's going on, or they'll tell me something, and I'll hear stories like, well, they wanted such and such deadline, and I told them absolutely not. And they said, well, if I couldn't do it, then they were going to go somewhere else. And I told them to get lost. Well, no wonder you don't have a business.
Yeah, at that point, you did it to yourself.
I mean, to quote Grant Cardone, say yes and figure it out. I did that a couple of years ago. I just started, and I was actually being sarcastic, but unfortunately, sarcasm doesn't go well through email. I just started saying, sure, why not, to everything.
I remember.
That was a terrible idea. I mean, it was great because it really grew the business, but it was a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
It took at the time, 3 other people plus you and me. That's how busy we were.
I remember.
But you have to provide customer service. And the thing is, people aren't getting even basic level customer service that they want. And so when you even offer the basics, people think, oh my God, this is amazing. And so that's really kind of what drives them to keep using you, even if you charge more, because they want that level of service.
Right. Well,
and expertise.
Service and expertise work, but if with something that you're actually creating a product or doing something like my previous example of drywalling a room, your issue comes to there's only so far people are willing to stretch money in order to get good customer service. I mean, people will, go back on the customer service a little bit in order to save maybe not $25, but, if we're talking difference between $200 and $100, I'll sacrifice customer service for $100.
I don't know that I would. I guess it would depend on what I'm having done.
Well, yeah.
Because if I'm going to have somebody, besides you, in the house throwing up drywall or anything, remodeling the kitchen or whatever, if they don't even understand the basics of customer service, I don't want them in my house.
Well, that is true. As far as that particular aspect goes, yes, of course, you don't want to allow somebody in your house that doesn't know what they're doing.
The dogs figured out that the other door that led out to the backyard was open and just came crashing through the office door again. So yeah, those are the 4 things that you need aside from passion to make any small business work. You need education. You need education about the skills, the services you're going to offer. You need drive. You need to be able to keep going even during the long haul. You need to know about your industry. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know what the trends are in the industries that you service. And, of course, you have to know customer service.
And you need puppies.
She actually likes to sleep on top of the desk.
You don't need puppies.
She disagrees with you.
She's an idiot.
So we have 3 dogs now. We have Pandora, who is half Akita, half Lab. She's 3 years old. And we have Crom, the destroyer of paper. He's adopted from the shelter. He was 3 when we adopted him last year, so he's 4 now, and he is a blue-nosed pit, and probably out of the 3 dogs, the nicest dog, unless you mess with his tail, that makes him kind of grumpy. And then my son's dog, Athena, who, obviously, if you just look at the ears, she's only 10 weeks old. She is at least half deer head Chihuahua.
Yeah.
So we consider our home now House of Gods.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on in business basics, we've talked about what you need to succeed besides just your passion. So let's talk a little bit about where people can find blog-worthy material. And the reason why I bring that up is because one of the number one questions I am asked, not just by people who want to be freelance writers, but anybody who's in business, they all want to have a blog, which is a good idea because, if you have a business website, you update your blog once, twice, 3 times, daily, whatever, and it's new content for the search engines. And so that's just one of those organic ways that you can stay, where you want to stay. Although it does take time to get promoted.
It keeps your website higher up on the Google search.
After a while, it does. I don't want anyone to think that blogging and SEO is some sort of magic where tomorrow you're going to be number 1, because no, you're not.
No.
You're just not. It takes time. So, and you have to, write about relevant things, and there are a lot of tips that you can do. But one of the most common questions I'm asked is where people can find blog-worthy material. I have several businesses that I blog for every week. Some of them are law firms. Some of them are service businesses. There's a collection agency. There's a lot of different places. I was writing for a jewelry blog for a while, but that was, for me at least, a miserable experience because I'm not into fashion trends. Like, I like what I like. I don't keep up with celebrities. Like, I'm going through these celebrity pictures with this jewelry, and I'm like, thinking, who the hell is that? So I really wasn't the person for that job. I did it to kind of help some people out. But so where can you find blog-worthy material? I'm going to tell you guys a few of the things that I use. The first thing I do, especially if I'm bringing on a brand new client, I go and I look at websites that would be considered as their competitor. I'll go look. So if I bring on a new family lawyer who wants to start blogging about family law in a particular state, I go and look for other family lawyers in that state, look at their blog. I'm not looking to copy their ideas. What I'm wanting to know, what areas are they covering? Because a lot of these are being ran by really great content providers that I know, and so I know they're doing their research, and so I can go and see what they're writing about, and I can kind of see what the trends are. Then I may take those ideas, stick them into textoptimizer.io, or I may, and that's another thing, you could go and grab a blog off of somebody's page, go over to textoptimizer.io, sign up for an account, it's free, paste that into the box, and have it optimize it, and then when you scroll through, you'll actually see suggestions of other things that you could write about. It's really cool because it's basing it off of the text that's there plus what people are searching on.
Right.
So it's a really good way to get some extra ideas. You could use AdWords through Google. It's free. You do have to sign up for Google AdWords account. Just set your budget at $1. You never have to put any payment information in to get to the keyword manager. So you could do that and just type in your keyword, and it's going to give you a number next to your keyword. The bigger the number, the more people that are searching on that. Although that sounds fantastic, because who wouldn't want to come up where people are searching a lot for, right? Problem is, that's your search competition. So if it says there are 12 million people searching for that, while that's great because you know it's what people want to know about, your chances of coming up number one are slim to nil at this point because you've got a new blog. So you can also move your mouse over, it says more keywords like this, and you can find keywords with a little bit smaller numbers that maybe you can crack the top couple of pages in the future.
Right.
So
yes. I'll always come up with an alternate.
Several alternates, because what you're going to find out is you'll start coming up with a list of ideas for you to use in the future. And so the other thing you could do is use the Google News alerts, and you could type in stuff about the industry and look for news stories so that you could do a little bit of newsjacking if you wanted to. I actually talked about newsjacking a couple of weeks ago here and on confessionsfromthecouch.com. So if anyone wants to learn the do's and don'ts of how to properly do a newsjacking, make sure you go check that out. But you could get ideas that way. You could set it up to where you're emailed on certain keywords. I used to do that when I would have to go and do link building. You could also just type at the top of Google, start typing your keyword, and you'll get a drop down that shows you what people are searching on. That's also a really great free tool that you can use. And if you're having trouble coming up with titles, there are a ton of title generators.
Aren't they redoing the Google search though? I heard something last week that Google was redoing it, but it might just be for cell phones because a lot of people.
I get the drop down on the cell phone thing all the time, and it freaking annoys me. I hate it on the phone.
I think that's what people are getting. I think people are getting annoyed, so they're getting rid of it for cell phones. So when doing this, not right now because it's still available on your cell phone, but here I think they're talking in like next 2, 3, 4 months they're going to be revamping it or removing it altogether. They haven't quite decided yet.
I haven't read my Google News lately, so.
But so that might be something you may have to wait until you're at an actual computer to do. To add a little bit more on that, if say your particular business, like I brought up earlier, maybe you're running a blog for your fantasy football, just you got your fantasy football thing going, but you're trying to get a little extra money through ads on your blog, maybe doing some analysis on the past football game or soccer, basketball, whatever it is you're doing it on. So YouTube in that particular instance might work for you. If you're doing blogs on any sport, YouTube would really probably help. As far as, let's say, construction goes, though, maybe looking up, because you can find this just about anywhere, new construction sites, new construction neighborhoods within where you normally like to be, and maybe talking about how many acres they've got, what their lots are going to be, what customers can look for whenever they're looking to purchase a home, things like that.
You could even write about the inspection process, because that's something that a lot of new home buyers need to know, and they don't understand they don't even necessarily understand the process of buying a home at all, but the inspection process in general, or even the current trends in home design as far as what people are doing to their kitchens or their bathrooms or whatever.
Oh yeah, I mean, just to give you some ideas, because maybe you're not just a writer. Maybe writing's not your number one thing you're wanting to work on, but
they can hire someone if they need to. I mean,
you can, but
don't. The reason why I said that, the reason why I brought that up, there's a reason why I brought that up. It's because when you hire a writer, so for people that are in the construction industry, for example, when you hire a writer, it is important to be on the same page with them and know whether or not they expect you to provide the ideas, the titles, whatever.
Right. And
that's what I was getting at there.
But if you're in a product-based business, maybe you're I'm trying to think of something. Now I can think of is 50 Shades of Grey. Maybe you're making paddles for a living.
Hey, we know people that have made all sorts of things for a living.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's your thing, but you might, you're not showing up on the top of the search engine, so you're not getting as much business. Maybe you're thinking of opening a blog. Well, you got to know what, you're going to have to let people know, have customers get more in depth about what you're making.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself actually works as far as you learning more about your industry in case you don't already know it. And two, it's actually a form of customer service. Three, it actually shows to the customer that you do have some sort of drive for it because you're not just sitting, they're not just looking at your website, seeing your product. They can go and search your blog and see what you have to say about, maybe you're doing product comparisons in your blog, how yours stacks up to somebody else's. It can be a number of things. So even if you're not the greatest writer, maybe look at a blog to help drive customers.
Yeah, and the writing a blog, your blogs don't have to be super long. Right now the trend is longer is better. And for certain instances, fine, whatever. But we all know this is the age of instant information, and people scan. They don't necessarily read in depth unless they're really, 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 really looking for something, right?
Right.
So short is fine, 300 to 500 words. And I know for a lot of people that are probably listening to this, they're thinking, oh my God, that's a ton. And it's really not. But, you keep your most important points towards the top.
Yes.
And we use what is called the F pattern, or at least I do, in a lot of my online writing, because I know that's how people scan. When people scan online writing, they're scanning it, their eyes are scanning it in the way that you would see a capital F. So you've got your two lines, your two horizontal lines. That's the first thing they do. They scan like the first paragraph. So there's your first two lines. And then they scan straight down. So as long as they're able to scan and get something, and at that point, you could use bold, you could use bulletless and all that. But that kind of, takes us to formatting instead of talking about where people could find blog-worthy material. Social media is another good one because you can talk to people. You can ask, hey, what do you want to see? There's a lot that you can do to be able to,
Oh, yeah. And definitely, if you can't come up with a topic, ask on social media what people would like to hear about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you have an email list, if, like you were talking about construction earlier, let's say you already have an email list, you do a newsletter once in a while or whatever. If you have an email list, just reach out to people via email. Create a little quiz or whatever you want to do and make it to where just ask, what would you want to read about? And that's really one of the best ways that you can do that. So another thing that we're asked quite a bit is finding new clients. So a lot of that is going to depend on what you're actually doing for a business, because the trick is you have to pretty much go wherever your potential clients are going to be. It's like years and years and years and years ago, I was in the insurance business, and I did life insurance, auto, home, the Medicare supplemental gap insurance. So when it came to that last one, and the internet was popular, but it wasn't quite like we see it today. But I couldn't, and even now if I were in that field, I can't necessarily rely on Facebook to reach a certain crowd. I the dog's breathing really heavy. I would actually have to get out and go and find where they're at. You have to find other ways to reach your crowd. And so that's the first thing, is make sure that you know your market. Even if you have more than one market, make sure you know your market and how to go out and reach them, because that is like the best thing that you could possibly do. So let's start with you first this time. For people who are working in construction or doing something physical, what are some ways that you would suggest people not just get clients necessarily, but even find potential clients?
Oh,
And that's Panda getting upset that the puppy is biting her tail. A little bit of puppy rearrangement here.
as far as if you're doing things product based, especially construction, what I would say to do is mainly go out. Like I brought up earlier, you see new construction site or new neighborhood going up. Go out, see who's building it. A lot of times, if you see the construction company that's running the dirt work and you do concrete, let's say, you can go up, you can say, hey, who's the builder on this? A lot of times they'll tell you. They don't have a problem telling you who the builder is. So you can, that's a really good way to do it, because you might find that, hey, I got this builder. He may not have work at that moment, but he may have work, say, his next project, or maybe he's got a couple of other little projects on the side that he's bid on that, he doesn't have the manpower to fill. Then another, even if it's, like I was saying, something that's product based, like you are creating a product, conventions are always a good way to go. Conventions, shows, like if you're doing art, going out to a local art show is great. Getting into the bigger conventions is also great, but that does require, a lot of times that requires quite a bit of money in order to get in. So that may not be something you can do like maybe this year, but maybe next year save up so you can, buy that booth space so you can have your products shown. But as far as, you can always see this home built by, they always put their signs out in front of their home, in front of their houses, or in front of their neighborhood. If you see a new neighborhood coming up, you drive down the street by the entrance, you'll see, at least in this state, you see
signs are everywhere.
Yeah, the sign saying home built by, I'm trying to think of, I don't want to give out any names, but of any companies here, but it'll say home built by,
and they'll have the business name, or it will have the builder's name.
So pull in the neighborhood, stop, get out, jot down the name, jot down the number, give them a call, see if they need any help.
Or even look them up online, because a lot of the bigger builders, at least here, they have a heavy online social media presence.
Oh yeah, all of them do.
And at least then you can also get a name of someone that you need to talk to.
Oh yeah. And outside of that, maybe you're just into remodeling. So going into these new neighborhoods won't work for you. You're gonna have to go to. You'll have to go to maybe an older neighborhood. Try and see if you can't find somebody who's trying to do some of the stuff by themselves. See if you can't just help them out for, a little bit, make a little extra cash. It may not be great. I realize that's not the best way to go about it, but
gets them out there.
Yeah, and what ends up happening is, a lot of times that I found, because I've done that once or twice, they once they see and they realize, oh, you actually know what you're doing, they tend to just go, okay, well, how much just to finish this job off? And I don't have to do it anymore. I've actually gotten jobs that way. So it's unconventional, yes, but it works.
You know what I find a lot of people have a problem with when it comes to going out, and I'll talk about finding leads online in a minute, but what a lot of people tend to have an issue doing, they don't like to go out and do that because, I don't want to push it. I don't want to do sales. I don't want to push myself onto people. But, when you're in business for yourself, that's what you're doing. It's sales. You are selling yourself first and foremost.
You're the car salesman without the car.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's something that people have to get over is, how they feel about that. Because if you are uncomfortable, like so uncomfortable that you refuse to go out there and actually do it, then you're not going to make any money. So it's something that you have to find. You have to find some items that you're comfortable doing and go out and do it. And so if you have a business and you're looking online to get clients, there are some things that you need to do. You need to, of course, have a really good opening letter of some sort. Maybe you call it a cover letter because you're a freelancer. Maybe you're just trying to introduce your services to another business. I don't know what you're doing. But you need a really good opening letter that's going to get their attention. But you have to make sure that everything that you say focuses more on their needs and less on how amazing, super awesome that you are. I mean, obviously you're amazing, super awesome because you're going to be able to solve their problems. But when it comes to getting clients, you really do have to make it all about them. How are you going to solve their problem? And you need a good resume of some sort. I actually use a CV because I've been doing this a really long time. And so I primarily highlight the work that I've done, who I've worked with, what we, accomplished, problems that I helped them solve. If they've told me how things improved, I include that information as well. And then you actually have to go out and look for places to find clients. And again, that is going to depend highly on what you do. I don't necessarily recommend that you use your personal Facebook account for flat out, buy my stuff, buy my services. And here's why. If you're going to do that, you need to have a Facebook business page, which is free to set up. You go through the same process that you would do if you're creating a fan page, which I have one, facebook.com/therobinbull. And the reason for that is because your friends are going to do one of two things if you constantly promote your shit on your personal timeline. They're going to either take you out of their feed, they're going to unfriend you, so I guess three things, or they're going to report you. And if you get reported to Facebook for doing business transactions on your personal Facebook page, Facebook will deactivate your account.
Or they'll do what my friends will do and just harass the crap out of you mercilessly and make fun of you.
Isn't that how you know you got good friends?
Well, yeah, but I mean, as far as business goes, though, that's not great.
No, it's not. It can make you look bad if people don't know that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I went and did some steps for an older lady and posted it on my personal one, like, here, look at what I did. And, my friends are sitting there talking about how they slipped and fell off the steps I built at their house. And I'm like, you jerk!
Yeah,
my steps already crumbled, and now my 80-year-old mother has to jump off the front porch, and she's
tuck and roll, Grandma, tuck and roll.
They're doing it to be funny, and but they don't realize the repercussions of their actions.
So, if you're a business, you're setting up a business, and primarily what you do is you want to service other businesses. Keep in mind that number one, landing those commercial accounts isn't necessarily any safer than having regular accounts. I work with regular people. I work with businesses. I work basically whoever needs me. But there is this misguided idea that if you only work with other businesses, you're going to get paid on time every time. You're going to do so great and life is just going to be rosy. And that's just not true. And the reason that's just not true is I've actually had it happen to where businesses, particularly there was a business in Australia that was owned by a celebrity there. There was the I think it was that book publishing company, or at least that's what they set themselves out to be. I believe they were from Australia also.
Yeah.
But I've had businesses, I've even had one or two here in the States that it just wasn't worth chasing down $20-$30. But you have to keep in mind that it doesn't make it any more safe for you to work directly with businesses. But if that's what you're going to do, that's fine. What you end up having to do, make a list of the businesses that you're interested in and find their social media presence, figure out what it is. You have to come up with a really good pitch. But then you have to figure out who it is in that business that you have to talk to. And you're going to have to get past their gatekeeper, their receptionist, their assistant, whatever. And you need to make sure that you are talking to the person that can make decisions. So you have to be prepared for that. And again, it's where people go, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to do this, that, or the other. And well, if you don't want to do these things, I get it. I know it's uncomfortable. I am not necessarily a hard salesperson. People generally come to me, but if I go after a contract, I try to explain to them the benefits that they're going to experience, and I can back it up because I have proof. So you have to go out there, you have to find your clients. Social media is one of the best ways to do that if you're going business to business. If you are looking to freelance, there's Upwork. That's what I use. Elance is not a thing anymore. They're owned by Upwork now. There's
LinkedIn. LinkedIn's alright.
You can use LinkedIn to find freelance work. You could use Tweet My Jobs. You could use Search Tempest if you wanted to search Craigslist. But if you do that, be very, very careful. Make sure you vet whoever it is you're talking to. I could do a show just on Craigslist on its own.
Yeah, notice how even with construction jobs, I have not brought up Craigslist at all. I've done construction pretty much since I was 19 years old, and I found 3 jobs on Craigslist, and I'm 35.
Well, and it seems like, too, that some of the ones, this is, some time back, where you would send an email with your qualifications or whatever, and then it would always come back, and the person would be like, oh, that job is gone, but I have this job, and it pays da-da-da-da-da. And I'm sorry, guys, that stuff, it's a scam. It's false. It's not true.
Yeah.
Same with if you are looking to get into writing and you decide that it's a good idea to get involved with a writing agency, be very, very careful. I was screwed over by one as far as pay. They promised me one thing, and then eventually, when it came time to pay, they decided they weren't going to pay me what they promised, and so that's when I quit working for them. Obviously, I'm not going to give their name because I'm not that tacky, but I know that they're on Upwork because they sent me a request till they, till I said something to them about it. It's like, yeah, I've worked with you guys, no thanks. So you got to be careful. And the thing with content mills, as I call them, you have to be careful because you're not going to get paid what you're worth at all. You don't get any contact with the client, and so that makes it really hard for you to learn what they want, what they like. And the reason content mills do that is because they're afraid that you're going to steal those clients out from under them. But generally, you have to sign like a non-compete where you're not going to take their clients. But it ends up not being worth it money-wise. I think.
Well, not just money-wise, but why would you have a third party that you have to go through if you don't have to? It makes no sense.
Because it's easier for most people not to have to go out and try to source their own work.
It might be a good way to start, but that would not be what I would suggest to do for a long haul.
And the problem is, because I've actually been in the shoes of sourcing work for other people, other writers, is you get these people who they talk a big game about wanting to work from home, and then they end up not. I've fired people for plagiarizing. I've people who just don't want to do the work. They think that, ooh, writing from home so awesome, so cool, and then they figure out it's actual work. I don't want to do this anymore, and so that's kind of why I don't do that. So yeah, there's Upwork, Freelancer, which I don't use. There's Tweet My Jobs. I've got another one that's up and coming, the one I told you about last week. I'm not going to mention yet because we're still in negotiations with them about those accounts. But there are places you just kind of have to go out there and do the legwork and figure it out. So, I think that one other topic that we should cover, since we're just talking about a little bit of the basics today, we're not going super in depth, because we're almost at an hour now. I'm sure people need to take some time to sort of process everything that's being said. Let's talk a little bit about marketing strategies for small businesses. So for those that actually go out and physically do things in their own area. Oh, and if you do things in your own area, construction, whatever, Thumbtack. You could do that when what you do need to know is that you do have to purchase credits to apply for gigs. I've had some people say it's great. I've had other people say it's not so great. I have an account there. I don't really use it.
I have one too. I think I really didn't get a whole lot out of it, but sometimes it works that way. Marketing strategies, though, as far as for product-based businesses, business cards are always great because you tell somebody your phone number, you give somebody your contact information, you tell them the name of your business, chances are they're not going to remember it.
And make sure on your business card, make sure that your email address is not only there, but something that is appropriate. I can't tell you when I worked for a college in career services, how many people would come in, even alums, with email addresses that were not appropriate to be on resumes. Seriously, don't do that, guys.
I actually have 3 associate's degrees, and whenever I was in when I was in college, our particular career services lady for the department that I was in, which was health and sciences, told me that I really should consider getting rid of my Hotmail account because of the word Hotmail might be considered by some of the older gentlemen and ladies in the medical field to be a bad.
Well, it looks like spam too, because that's what we all associate with spam.
Yeah.
Back in the day, right? I mean, I have a Hotmail account now, but I don't use it for anything. That's like my junk email,
Yeah. So I mean, I have nothing against Hotmail. I prefer Hotmail accounts as opposed to anything else, but not everybody looks at it.
It seems to have gotten a little bit better.
Because like I said, that whenever I was told that was 7 years ago, so a lot has changed as far as emails and email providers and what they do. So that may not be an issue for people now, but it was back then. So it might, if you're dealing with an older crowd, maybe 60s, 70s, in that age, they may still look at it through that kind of tunnel that Hotmail is not really something they want to deal with, and that's fine. So if you're catering to that age group, think about getting something like Gmail or a Yahoo account.
I would definitely say go with Gmail. And one thing I would say about the email address, regardless of whether you're working online or off, is to make sure that you have an email address for your business that's separate from your personal email. And the reason, again, is because you're setting up basically a separate part of your life. And so you don't want to start getting a bunch of junk email from your friends and your family who just absolutely love chainmail,
Yeah, you don't want to filter through that whenever you're trying to look for business stuff.
I don't even think my mom has my email address.
No.
Like, pretty much everybody now uses my business email address, but there are some people that don't have it at all. Like, if they want to get a hold of me, they can find another way, because that's not going to be it. But it says a lot about you if you have an email address that's not professional looking. And again, it doesn't have to be your own domain. You can do that if you want to. You don't have to. Another marketing strategy that's fairly free, it can be as free as you want it to be. You can dump money in this or not. Videos. I've been sitting here screwing with my phone this whole time trying to get Periscope to work. I can't get it to work on my phone again. But videos, and the reason why I'm recommending, well, I'm not necessarily recommending Periscope as the be-all, end-all, because let's face it, Instagram has their live now. Facebook has Facebook Live, which I think is really good.
Yeah.
I almost turned it on, but I didn't. I'm still waiting on my tripod to get here.
I'm glad you didn't.
Well, I was
not dressed for that occasion.
I was gonna turn it to where,
Ah.
that wasn't an issue for you.
Okay.
But I suppose I'm not really dressed for the occasion either. But with my
Captain Morgan T-shirt.
yeah, I've got pants on today though.
I got pants on.
So, but video, even with YouTube, all of it is great. And it's as free as you want it to be. And the reason why I brought up Periscope is because when you record with Periscope, it goes out onto your Twitter account automatically. Of course, earlier when I went to log in, it gave me options for Facebook login, but I'd have to set up a new account. Well, I've already got an account. I don't want to do that.
Right.
And Google login. Again, I'd have to set up a new account. I've got one. Don't want to do that.
So if you're considering Periscope, set up Periscope first and then set everything else up.
And the cool thing, though, with Periscope, you can set your phone to save your video and to automatically upload it to your YouTube channel.
That's pretty cool.
So you save yourself a step.
Yeah.
Facebook Live, and the thing with Periscope, people can ask questions if they're watching or whatever, but the downside to Periscope, it only saves your video for like a week and then it deletes it. So Facebook Live is pretty cool because people can talk to you live while you're videoing it,
right.
Recording it. So that's a great way. Like, you could offer webinars. You could talk about some of your latest blog posts. I do that sometimes. Reusing content is a really good idea, as long as it's considered evergreen content. Other marketing strategies, I don't necessarily recommend using the the Facebook groups, and here's why. Well, okay, let me rephrase this. If you've got a service or you are building whatever, check out your local buy-sell groups on Facebook. Read the rules. Don't go posting shit if you're not allowed about your business. Use those groups if you're going to work locally. I've done that for some of the books that I've written. I've done that for your construction business. But again, only in the groups that allow it. Why? Because people who join that group are there to buy and sell. Okay? So you got a pretty good group. Now, as far as these other quote-unquote work-from-home groups or business groups, or even what I've noticed, a lot of the book promotion groups, everyone that's joining these groups are doing it to push their shit. There's not a single person generally in those groups looking to buy.
Right.
So you can if you want to. Sometimes I'll share my blog posts there. Sometimes I'll share podcast links there. But I don't make it a habit to go in there and advertise what I do, because generally people aren't that interested.
Didn't one of them throw you off for actually trying to sell your book?
Yeah, in a book that's what it was. Yeah, that's what the group. Oh, and since then it turned into, we're going to allow everybody else to do this but you.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, whatever. That I've actually had that happen in a couple of groups. When I was looking for an assistant, I wanted someone local, and so I went into the local jobs group, and I got in trouble for that, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
So don't be shocked whenever some of these people don't like what you're doing, and they're just.
Yeah, you gotta have a thick skin, and like flyers and things like that. If you're going to do that, be very careful about where you put them. Go to businesses and stuff. Get permission to maybe just leave some inside. Don't just go to Walmart and start papering cars, because number one, that's actually against the law.
Yeah.
Number two, you can be kicked off the property. So, just use some common sense. And there are a lot of banks, there are a lot of grocery stores, there are a lot of places that have those community bulletin boards, and there are a lot of businesses even and restaurants that'll let you leave your business cards and your flyers. So, just a little common sense there. Website, blog, those are marketing strategies. Email marketing, give something away, create a free download. I probably should have made a better list. Really, it depends on your business.
That's a pretty good start, though. This is for people who are starting a business. So
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to get too bogged down in any one area, and you don't have to spend a ton of money with marketing to begin with either. But the money that you do make in your business, at least for a little bit, make sure that you're putting it back into your business. So
yeah, fun, like she brought up earlier, Upwork, freelancer, places like that, good places to start and try and get.
some people use Fiverr and offer their freelance work. They've changed it a little bit. It's not just $5 anymore. You can say things like starting at $25 or whatever. So that's, I guess, another option for some people. I wouldn't do it, but I buy services there sometimes.
Right.
But I don't think I would necessarily use it. But you could, I guess.
But take the money that you're making from those and just dump it back into getting marketing done. Not a big fan of the Facebook ads. People don't really pay attention to them.
People aren't going to see them on. Stop and think about your target market. If you're thinking about Facebook ads, first think about your target market, because my target market, for example, one of them, attorneys, right? When do you think they're on Facebook the most? What are they on?
Their phone.
Yeah. What don't you see on Facebook mobile?
Ads.
Yeah. So for me, for that anyway, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. But there are some really good ways to go in and create the ad. Make sure you follow Facebook's ad rules, because it has to be 80% graphic, less than 20% text, which makes it really hard to get one approved for some people.
Yeah.
Thank you, Panda. We appreciate your input.
She doesn't like Facebook either.
Make sure that you really understand your demographic. Make sure you understand how to use their tool to build. Like, you can go in and customize who you want to see the ad. And if you know what you're doing, you can reach a really good crowd. I had somebody, he's a consultant, and he actually taught me how to go about and do that the right way. I don't use that feature because, I don't need it. Or you could also, if you have a Facebook fan page, or what do they call them besides fan page, business page or whatever,
Yeah.
You could just sponsor or boost your post for like $5 and reach like 10 times the crowd that it was getting at before. So you could do that too if you wanted to.
I would do boosting a post before I would do buying of any ads.
And if you do the boost a post thing, make sure that you're telling people in some clever, cute way to, hey, go to my website, click this link. Yeah. And make sure there's some sort of picture on it or something to make it, travel. People want to share it or whatever, so make sure it's kind of clever, kind of funny. But that's what I would do. I would boost a post and make sure that it points back to a website where people can go if they want to. And clever enough that they want to share it with their timeline. So, any closing thoughts for you? We've talked about so much. We talked about passion, things that people need, where people can find.
Hopefully we didn't make you passionate enough to take a long walk off a short cliff.
He loves that saying. If he doesn't,
I do. That's my favorite.
I was going to say, if he doesn't stop saying that about this podcast, I'm just going to fire him.
Nah, she won't.
Yeah, I will. I haven't fired you in a while. Do you want to be fired? Because that's how you get fired.
No,
Well, hopefully we get back on a better schedule now that updates and everything on the new computer.
We'll
The new computer.
yeah, well, we'll be all right.
We'll get to it.
We got this.
So, any closing thoughts?
Just pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure that you are focusing on where you want to go, not where. Focus on where you want to go after your first step. Don't sit there and look at the finish line and wonder why you haven't gotten there yet, because you still have to take a step in order to start a race.
Absolutely. And next Monday, what we will talk about will be goal setting for your business. We'll talk about goal setting. We'll talk just a little bit about business planning. Not official writing a business plan, but just some of the components that you really need to think about for your business. And we'll also talk about the differences a couple of the differences in the various entities, legal entities that you can form, although you don't have to form one right away, so it's not anything that people need to get worked up about. So that's really all we have for this Monday, July 31st, and we hope everybody has a fantastic week.
Hopefully, You're walking away from this podcast with a plan to implement the tips you've heard, a great attitude, and you subscribe to Black Moth Radio to ensure that you never miss any of the goods. Whether you're a hopeful work-from-home freelancer or you're well settled into your work-from-home lifestyle, we hope you've learned something that you can use. If you're ready to know more about the work-from-home lifestyle, check out sellfy.com/TheRobinBull. Questions, comments? Let Robin know by going to facebook.com/TheRobinBull or confessionsfromthecouch.com. Thanks for listening. Join us next time and keep learning.